Critical thinking through ancient wisdom. Have you ever stopped to wonder, what if everything you believe to be true isn't? Think about it. How many times in history have people been absolutely certain of something, only to be proven wrong? The earth was flat, the sun revolved around us, and leeches cured diseases. Now, in an age overflowing with information, how can we be sure that we are not the ones holding on to flawed assumptions? We live in a world that bombards us with opinions, biases, and noise. It's easy to follow the loudest voice. But what if the loudest voice isn't the wisest? What if the answers we seek have been with us all along, hidden in the wisdom of the past, waiting for us to think critically and apply them? Stay with me, because today we're diving deep into the art of critical thinking through ancient wisdom. By the end of this talk, you'll not only see the power of ancient philosophy in sharpening your mind, but also gain actionable tools to apply critical thinking in your everyday life. The power of questioning, Socrates and the art of inquiry. Socrates, the father of critical thinking, gave us a gift, the ability to question everything. He didn't just accept what was said, he asked why. He used the Socratic method, a series of deep, layered questions, to reveal contradictions, challenge assumptions, and push people to think beyond surface-level beliefs. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly questioned your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own reality? How often do we simply go along with what we've been told without ever stopping to ask, is this really true? In his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss says, reality is negotiable. Outside of science and law, all rules can be bent or broken. Think about that for a moment. What if the limitations you think exist in your life are merely rules you've been conditioned to follow? What if asking the right questions could open doors you never even saw before? But here's the problem. Most people today accept things without question. We see a headline and assume it's true. We hear a statistic and don't investigate further. We base decisions on emotions instead of evidence. Tony Robbins once said, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. If you want to improve your life financially, emotionally, intellectually, you need to start by improving your questions. So let's put this into action. Action steps. 1. Ask why. 3 times. Don't stop at the first answer. Keep digging. If someone says, this is just the way things are, challenge it. 2. Reverse your assumption. If you believe something is true, argue for the opposite side. This forces you to see hidden flaws. 3. Become an active listener. Instead of forming your response while someone is talking, genuinely listen. Ask, what do you mean by that? 4. Challenge the rules in your life. What beliefs have you accepted without questioning? Your career path, your relationships, your goals? Take one belief and analyze it. 5. Write down your assumptions. Each day, write down something you assume is true. Then spend 5 minutes questioning whether it really is. When you start questioning the world around you, you begin to see the hidden truths others ignore. And that's when real transformation begins. Emotional mastery. The Stoic mindset. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, believed that emotions cloud judgment. They taught that we must separate our emotions from reality to think clearly. But how often do we allow our emotions to dictate our actions without question? Do we lash out in anger, get consumed by anxiety, or let fear prevent us from taking action? Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics taught thousands of years ago. Daniel Kahneman, in Thinking Fast and Slow, explains that our brains operate in 2 modes. System 1, emotional, fast, instinctive thinking, and System 2, rational, slow, deliberate thinking. When we let our emotions dictate decisions, we're often using System 1, leading to impulsive reactions rather than logical responses. In Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, he explains that people with well-developed emotional intelligence can recognize and regulate their emotions, leading to better decision-making and interpersonal relationships. The Stoics were ahead of their time in understanding this. They believed that emotions must be acknowledged but not obeyed blindly. Neuroscience backs this up. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, triggers strong reactions, but the prefrontal cortex can regulate these responses. The Stoics unknowingly practiced cognitive behavioral techniques, which modern psychologists now use to help individuals manage anxiety and stress. Mastering your emotions makes you a better thinker. Action steps. 1. Pause before reacting. When you feel a strong emotion, stop. Count to 10. Ask yourself, is this based on facts or feelings? 2. Practice cognitive reappraisal. This is a psychology-backed technique where you reframe the meaning of a situation. Instead of thinking this is a disaster, try this is a challenge I can handle. 3. Use Stoic journaling. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations to reflect on his emotions daily. Keep a journal and write about moments where emotions controlled you, then strategize how to respond better next time. 4. Meditate on control. The Stoics divided life into things we can and cannot control. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go. 5. Detach from ego. Your identity is not your opinions. Be open to being wrong. It's how you grow. When we practice emotional mastery, we gain the clarity of mind necessary to make wise decisions, improve relationships, and navigate life's challenges with resilience. Logical thinking, Aristotle's rules of reasoning. Aristotle gave us the foundation of logic, emphasizing that a clear mind must rely on reason, evidence, and rational argument. His system of formal logic, outlined in works such as Organon, has shaped centuries of philosophical and scientific inquiry. However, in today's digital world, misinformation spreads rapidly, challenging logical thinking. People often make decisions based on emotion rather than reason, favor opinions over facts, and value popularity over truth. The ability to think logically is more essential than ever. Studies in cognitive psychology and neuroscience highlight the biases that cloud human judgment, from confirmation bias to the Dunning-Kruger effect. By understanding these tendencies and applying Aristotle's principles, individuals can enhance their decision-making and analytical skills. The importance of evidence-based thinking. Aristotle emphasized the need for reasoning grounded in observation and logical deduction. He stated, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." This perspective aligns with modern research that stresses critical thinking skills in evaluating claims. Scientific studies reveal that human cognition is susceptible to cognitive biases. A study by Kahneman and Tversky, 1979, on prospect theory demonstrates that people are more likely to accept information that aligns with their existing beliefs rather than critically evaluating new evidence. This phenomenon, known as confirmation bias, underscores the importance of Aristotle's directive to seek objective proof. One way to counter misinformation is to ask, "Where's the proof?" This simple question forces individuals to differentiate between anecdotal claims and verifiable data. For instance, in medical research, peer-reviewed studies with controlled experiments offer far greater reliability than personal testimonials. The scientific method, built upon logical reasoning, ensures that conclusions are based on repeatable evidence rather than conjecture. Breaking problems down for better decision-making. Complex issues often appear overwhelming, leading to poor decision-making. Aristotle advised approaching problems systematically, breaking them down into smaller, manageable components. This method is reflected in modern problem-solving techniques, such as decomposing a problem in computational thinking or using the divide-and-conquer approach in project management. Philosopher René Descartes echoed this principle, stating in Discourse on the Method, 1637, "Divide each difficulty into as many parts as is feasible and necessary to resolve it." This structured approach improves clarity and prevents emotional decision-making. Cognitive science supports this strategy. A study by Sweller, 1988, on cognitive load theory suggests that breaking problems into smaller components reduces mental strain, leading to better problem-solving efficiency. By tackling each aspect systematically, individuals can analyze root causes and develop logical solutions rather than reacting impulsively. Applying logical thinking in daily life. The principles of logical reasoning are not just for philosophers and scientists, but for everyone. In personal finance, individuals who rely on evidence-based strategies such as tracking expenses and analyzing investment risks make better financial decisions than those driven by intuition. In health, people who evaluate clinical studies rather than fall for anecdotal health trends make more informed choices. Socrates, who laid the groundwork for critical inquiry, famously declared, "An unexamined life is not worth living." This underscores the importance of questioning assumptions, seeking evidence, and embracing rationality in all aspects of life. Aristotle's rules of reasoning remain as relevant today as they were over 2 millennia ago. In an era of information overload, logical thinking provides a defense against misinformation, biases, and irrational decision-making. By looking for evidence, recognizing fallacies, and breaking problems into smaller parts, individuals can sharpen their reasoning skills and make more sound judgments. As modern research and philosophical wisdom confirm, the ability to think logically is one of the most powerful tools a person can cultivate. Perspective and open-mindedness. Lao Tzu and the power of flow. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, taught about the way of the Tao, flowing with life instead of resisting it. He emphasized seeing beyond dualities, beyond black and white thinking. His wisdom echoes through time, reminding us that life is not simply a battle between extremes, but a vast spectrum of possibilities. Yet today, in an era of polarization, most of us fall into the trap of rigid thinking. We are conditioned to see the world in extremes, good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. This binary perspective limits our growth, relationships, and ability to navigate the complexities of life. As Lao Tzu once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Letting go of rigid perspectives opens us to greater wisdom and transformation. But what does it truly mean to expand our perspective? How can we cultivate open-mindedness in a world that constantly pressures us to pick sides? The key lies in shifting our approach, embracing uncertainty, and seeing the world through multiple lenses. Expanding perspective makes you a true thinker. One of the most important qualities of great leaders and thinkers is their ability to embrace different perspectives. They recognize that wisdom does not come from rigid certainty, but from the ability to consider multiple viewpoints. As former U.S. President John F. Kennedy wisely put it, tolerance implies no lack of commitment to one's beliefs. Rather, it condemns the oppression or persecution of others. In other words, being open-minded does not mean abandoning our principles, but rather acknowledging the complexity of the world. The most successful individuals in history have demonstrated this principle. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was known for his ability to synthesize seemingly unrelated ideas. He famously said, "A lot of people in our industry haven't had very diverse experiences, so they don't have enough dots to connect, and they end up with very linear solutions without a broad perspective." The ability to see the bigger picture and make connections where others see separation is a hallmark of true intelligence. Action steps to cultivate perspective and open-mindedness. See the gray area. Instead of choosing sides, ask, what's the middle ground? We live in a culture that often demands allegiance to one side or another. But reality is rarely that simple. The greatest thinkers in history have understood that truth is multifaceted. As former U.S. President Barack Obama put it, "The world doesn't just revolve around you. There are billions of other people with their own perspectives, experiences, and stories." Recognizing this allows us to move beyond the limitations of duality. One way to practice this is by consciously seeking nuance in conversations. Instead of immediately categorizing ideas as right or wrong, ask yourself, is there a middle ground? What are the merits of both sides? The more we embrace the gray areas, the more we expand our capacity for understanding. Embrace contradiction. Two opposing ideas can both hold truth. Life is full of paradoxes. We can be strong yet vulnerable, confident yet uncertain, independent yet deeply connected to others. One of the greatest obstacles to personal growth is the discomfort of contradiction. But as Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds." Growth requires us to hold seemingly contradictory truths without feeling threatened. Take, for example, the leadership of Nelson Mandela. He once said, "I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb." His wisdom acknowledges both the victories and the challenges of leadership. True wisdom does not reside in choosing between two absolutes, but in integrating both into a more profound understanding of life. Be curious, not defensive. When faced with a new perspective, say, "Tell me more." One of the biggest barriers to open-mindedness is defensiveness. When confronted with a new idea, our natural instinct is often to reject it. But as leadership expert Simon Sinek says, the ability to listen, not just to respond, but to truly understand, is what separates good leaders from great ones. Curiosity is the key to breaking free from mental rigidity. Instead of immediately disagreeing with an unfamiliar perspective, practice saying, "Tell me more." By doing so, we invite growth and deeper understanding into our lives. This approach fosters stronger relationships, better decision-making, and a richer intellectual life. Lao Tzu's teachings on flowing with life, rather than resisting it, remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. In a world that often pressures us to take sides and cling to rigid beliefs, the true mark of wisdom is our ability to see beyond extremes. As Winston Churchill famously said, "The greatest lesson in life is to know that even fools are right sometimes." This humility allows us to continuously learn and evolve. By seeing the gray areas, embracing contradictions, and maintaining curiosity, we unlock new possibilities for growth, connection, and wisdom. Perspective and open-mindedness are not just philosophical ideals, they are essential tools for navigating an ever-changing world. Let us embrace the power of flow and walk the path of the Tao with courage and openness. Action over theory. Confucius and the power of doing. Confucius didn't just talk about wisdom, he lived it. He believed that knowledge means nothing unless applied. In his teachings, Confucius emphasized that learning without practice is futile. As he famously stated, "I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand." This ancient wisdom highlights the importance of action over mere theoretical knowledge. Yet, in today's world, many people consume vast amounts of information but fail to take action. We live in an era where self-help books, motivational speeches, and online courses are more accessible than ever. Despite this abundance of knowledge, people often remain stagnant, trapped in a cycle of learning without application. Why? Because consuming information is easy, but acting on it requires effort, discipline, and sometimes a willingness to embrace failure. Information overload without action. Best-selling author and motivational speaker Tony Robbins once said, "The path to success is to take massive, determined action." However, many people fall into the trap of passive learning. They believe that reading about success, listening to TED Talks, or attending seminars will automatically translate into personal growth. But without implementation, knowledge remains abstract and ineffective. One striking example comes from Mel Robbins, a renowned speaker and author, who delivered a TED Talk on the 5-second rule. She explains how people often hesitate before taking action, leading to inaction. If you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill the idea. This simple but powerful principle underscores how action must follow thought to create change. Knowledge without action is wasted. Confucius's philosophy teaches that wisdom is not just about acquiring knowledge, but also about applying it effectively. Modern psychology supports this view. Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist and author of Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, discusses the importance of having a growth mindset. She argues that the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. Those with a growth mindset understand that intelligence and ability can be developed through effort and perseverance, not just learning. Similarly, Simon Sinek, in his TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, emphasizes the importance of taking initiative. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This means that understanding a concept isn't enough. It must be executed with purpose and consistency. Pick one idea and implement it today. Knowledge is useless unless applied. After reading this, choose one concept from this discussion and take action. Whether it's applying the 5-second rule to overcome procrastination or adopting a growth mindset in your daily life, commit to doing something today. Richard Branson, the billionaire entrepreneur, advocates for immediate action. Screw it. Let's do it. His philosophy revolves around jumping into opportunities rather than waiting for the perfect moment. Reflect on your day. Ask yourself daily, where did I fail to think critically today? What can I improve? This practice encourages self-awareness and continuous learning. According to Brené Brown, a well-known researcher on vulnerability and leadership, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. By reflecting on our actions, we identify areas for growth and prepare ourselves to do better tomorrow. Surround yourself with thinkers. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." To develop a habit of taking action, surround yourself with thinkers and doers. Engage in meaningful discussions, challenge your perspectives, and seek out communities that push you toward growth. Consider joining mastermind groups, attending networking events, or participating in online forums where action-oriented individuals exchange ideas and hold each other accountable. Become a doer, not just a thinker. The wisdom of Confucius, combined with insights from modern thinkers and TED speakers, reinforces a crucial truth. Knowledge is powerful, but only when applied. The greatest minds in history didn't just think, they acted. Whether it's starting a new habit, working toward a goal, or making a life-changing decision, take action today. As Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So what will you do today to bridge the gap between knowledge and action? Final challenge. Do at least one of these action steps today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Whether it's questioning a belief, mastering an emotion, applying logic, seeing a new perspective, or taking real action, just do it. And if you want to continue sharpening your mind and diving deeper into wisdom, check out our other videos. There's always more to learn, more to challenge, and more ways to grow into the best version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, true wisdom isn't just knowing, it's thinking, doing, and becoming. Now go and think critically.